one of the things that a lot of people are suffering from in our times, men and women, is low self-esteem. Right? So you have a very low opinion of yourself. And so when you do find someone who's even remotely interested in you, all of a sudden your world becomes meaningful again because somebody sees worth in you. And this goes back to his self-worth point, right? And so a lot of people are really gung-ho about getting married to this girl or this guy because it was the first one who came along, and they're like, well, you know, lightning don't strike twice. I mean, I know what I look like in the mirror, and this person has bad enough of an eyesight to go with this. So, you know, yeah, I know, seriously. But they have, it's going on inside the head that, you know, yeah, for a lot of people. But the idea that, you know, nobody else is ever going to come along, you know, I have this chance, even though this is not the perfect kind of person for me, but I should settle. On the one hand, we don't look for someone perfect, but on the other hand, you shouldn't be settling also. And especially as a result of a low opinion of yourself, you shouldn't be doing that. That once you fall in love, apparently, or you are obsessed enough, you're infatuated enough, then logic and common sense and reason and rationality goes out the window. So it doesn't matter how much somebody tries to talk sense into you. Once you've been like infatuated enough, you're a mule. You're no good. So if you can come back to humanity a little bit and detox from your obsession, then this conversation actually makes sense. Because if you've gone far enough down the road, you're too emotionally invested to even think about this stuff. Right? So you have to decide where you are. And for just a little additional comment to the, you know, thinking that you're going to change someone once you get married. Well, your parents, who love you more than anyone who will ever love you, can't change you about this issue. Because you want to marry someone and you're not listening to them, and you're not listening to the fact that you're 16 years old, or that you're, you know, you don't have a job, and, you know, any of it. You don't want to hear any of it. And you say they're not perfect, but I can change them. Well, the ones who love you so much and raised you up, they can't change you. How are you going to change anybody else that you don't even know? It doesn't even make any sense.
Infatuation equals love, or not being able to distinguish between infatuation and love. Infatuation is the initial feelings of lust and attraction and those butterflies in your stomach, which most people tend to confuse for love. They tend to think that that initial feeling when you look at someone and your eyes meet someone and you feel butterflies in your stomach, and in your head there's like a Bollywood movie going off in the background, and you're in the field somewhere running through or something like that. That is what most people tend to think. They think that is love. And yeah, it's kind of weird. It's a little bit weird. But that is actually infatuation. Those are the initial feelings that you have towards someone. Love, on the other hand, is something that takes time. So, as we know, when a couple, when they get married, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts love and mercy in their hearts, but that's the birth of the love. And as time goes on, the more you put into love, the love will grow and get stronger. Now, if someone loves you, so they'll tell themselves, like, if this person really loves me, then they will change for me. So they'll tell themselves that, you know, even though, once again, we may not be compatible, we may have a lot of issues, a lot of differences, but we love each other. And inshallah ta'ala, we'll make it work. And I know, like, there's things I don't like about her, but I will change her, inshallah. And out of her love for me, she will change. Or she may be telling herself, out of his love for me, it will change. And as they say, love conquers all, right? Have you guys heard that? Love conquers. So they say, you know what, we'll get through all of this because of our love. And subhanAllah, this is once again one of the main issues that I've seen, is that when people get over that infatuation stage, they realize that it's very, very hard to change someone else. And it's really that person who has to want to change themselves. And once you're no longer infatuated with a person, and it's no longer, you're past that honeymoon stage or whatever they call it, 5, 6 months, 4 months, 2 months, depending on who you ask, right? Once you're past that stage, it's very difficult. So I always tell young couples, I say, listen, this person, the way they are in front of you right now, the way you see them, marry them, keeping in mind or telling yourself that they're never going to change. And if you're happy with them the way they are right now, then go ahead and get married. But don't make the assumption or don't assume that they're going to change, or don't tell yourself that, yes, one day this person will change. That by getting married, you are completing yourself. And as they say, you know, I'm looking for my other half when people try to get married. Or people say my better half, you know, sometimes. But in the beginning of marriage, especially, people say my better half, right? The issue here is that when a person tells himself and they say, I have issues right now, I don't feel whole, I have problems with myself, but once I get married, my spouse will complete me. And all the problems that I'm dealing with in life, or my problems with my iman, and whatever else I'm dealing with, my spouse will make up for that. Because she has these strengths that I want for myself, and I may have some strengths, and we'll complete each other. And Islamically, subhanAllah, we don't depend on our spouse to complete us. Our spouse can help, but once again, we can't count on that, right? And it's also the issue of our relationship being whole with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or at least us striving to make our relationship whole with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and keeping that in mind before we get married, right? So, and the most important thing, subhanAllah, is actually our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And if your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fine, then your relationship will be helped by that. And a lot of times what happens, one of the other issues I've seen here, is that sometimes when you marry someone with the intention that they will complete me, or that they will make me better and all that, we tend to put our self-worth in their hands, right? We tend to tell ourselves that if my spouse, you know, they're the ones who are going to make me feel better about myself, and they're the ones who are going to make me whole. And we forget that our self-worth is truly defined, at least according to Islam, our self-worth is defined by our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The truth is that love always requires work. And that's love in your relationship, not only with your spouse, it's with anyone who you love, right? Even your parents, who you have that natural inborn love, you can increase that love, you can strengthen that love by being obedient to your parents, for example, right? Doing things for your parents, being kind, generous to your parents, or you can decrease that love by being disrespectful to your parents and things like that. So people will get married and they don't understand some basic things that a person should know before they enter into a relationship. For example, just the simple fact or understanding that men and women are different. There are times when women react differently to situations and men react differently. There's nothing you can do to change the person. There's going to be the times when your spouse reacts in a certain way and you just cannot understand it. You have no choice but to accept it. You can bang your head on the wall, you can go crazy, you can pull your hair out, you can do whatever you want, but this is how she understands the situation, right? And so you just have to accept that at certain times. Like the understanding that there are certain differences between men and women.
My suggestion to young men who are interested in getting married is I wouldn't put a barrier on your age. I wouldn't be one to do so. People mature differently. What I would argue is what are the standards of maturity? If you're able to provide for yourself, if you have a clear plan of action for your career, even if your parents are supporting you, you're disgusted by the idea because you're a man and you want to be able to live on your own terms, and instead of feeding off of your parents, you want to be contributing to your parents and making their life easier, and you have this sense of responsibility that drives you. If that is not the case, and you're one of those Xbox 360, PS3 all-nighter, every new movie comes out, Netflix and Hulu addict, whatever type, and then you say the Sharia says I can get married when I'm of the age, then you need to stop even bringing this up. And, because you don't even buy those video games, your mom buys them for you for Eid. So, first of all, yeah, I am really grumpy about this subject. Because what happens with these guys is, they turn 25, 30 years old, and they're still not men. They're kids. They're not grown. And this is one of the things that Desi parents have done to their children. They've paid for everything, and you've kept them from turning into men. Get your kids a job, man. And yeah, honestly, make them work and make them pay their own college tuition. Make them work, get them involved in the real world. It'll turn them into men.